Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter here today. All right, let's open up church windows and we're going to pull up membership. Just a couple things I want to point out to you before we actually jump into the report builder. A lot of questions that I get for different reports have to do with status. So if you have a status code field, it's going to be in here in people on the right under individual fields. There is a status code field. Now, if you are of a specific denomination, you might have a status code field specific to that, like Presbyterian report status. That's a popular one that I hear. So you might have a status code field, but then you might have another status code that's specific to your denomination. So just excuse me, just keep an eye out for those and make sure you're querying on the right status code depending on what you need. Another popular one that we run a lot is on death or people that passed away or left the church within a specific time frame. So I'm going to jump back here to say Dylan, for example. We can see his record is in red. And if we look over here to the right, this inactive field here, this is what's telling us, or telling the software, I should say, that Dylan has left. He is inactive. So once you check that box, you specify here why they left. And then you put in their date of death here, or the date that they left the church, okay? And we can query on these items to focus in on who left, for what reason, within what date range, and get a really nice report on that. So make sure you're filling in as much information as you can to be able to pull out the best information for reporting purposes, okay? Another popular one we get asked about is gender. You might have it in here as something else, but typically you can customize these fields, make them whatever you need to make them for, and then we can run our report to get numbers based on gender. Another popular one, baptism and confirmations. Depending on your denomination, you should have a baptism date and a confirmation date if you do confirmations. We can query on these. So again, this is a date field. So as long as there is a date in here, a full date, meaning you have month, day, and then year as 4 digits, you'll be able to query in who has a date within what date range. And then the last report we're going to talk about is people that have attended and have given. Okay, so make sure you pull people within the last year who have attended at least once and have given at least $1 or more. And again, you can critique that criteria to what you specifically need. But for the most part, it's attended at least one or more Sunday and gave something is what people do. Okay. All right, let's get jumped in with our first report. You can go to reports right here in the middle, or you can go up to reports export, reports and labels, reports directory export. Again, it's going to take you to the exact same place. And the first thing we are going to work on is status code. So to put in a membership criteria, we're going to click right here where it says edit people selection criteria. And we are going to select a membership field here. The membership field we're querying on is status. So I'm going to go ahead and put in status. You can type it in or scroll, whichever you prefer. Choose status code, and then you're going to check the specific ones or the people that you want pulled in as part of this report. I'm going to do active, associate, inactive, and out of town. And then I'm going to check add to selection, and it's going to input that criteria. So right now my report is only going to give me people with one of those 4 status codes. Okay. Off to the right, I'm going to uncheck visitors. You probably won't have any visitors with one of those status codes, so you might not need to do that, but I am going to for this instance. And then down at the bottom, I'm going to say okay. And it's going to reiterate my criteria right here. So for someone to be on this report, they have to be a member, and they have to have a status code of active, associate, inactive, or out of town. Okay, just a status code field. Down here at the bottom, if I wanted to include any giving or pledging criteria, I would do that here. For this example, not worried about that. So I'm going to come up to the Sort tab, and I want my people sorted in alphabetical order. You have a lot of different sorting options here you can choose from, but this one is going to just give you that strictly alphabetical order. Okay. And then I'm going to hit Next, and that's going to take me to step 2. If we look at the lower half of this screen, everyone here listed on this screen has that status code of 1, 2, 3, or 4. So they have to have one of those to be on this list. I can go with the basic report and use the basic columnar report. And if I hit print, that is going to give me their name, their address, and their phone number. And if you're just running these reports to get numbers to fill in for your yearly reports, up at the top, you can hit the lowercase I for your information, and that will give you a count. So this is a really easy way to go on the fly and have a number to pull to fill in on your forms that you're filling out to send back. So 45 people have one of the following status codes. Okay. Also at the last page, it reiterates that criteria as well. So if you want to print this out and save it somewhere, you can see what criteria you used and then make sure you use the same category when you go to run this report again, whether that be in 6 months or next year. All right, so that's an example of a status code report. Let's do a report on people that passed away in 2023. Okay, so we're going to go Reports, Edit People Selection Criteria, select a membership field. We're going to go down to Inactive, and again, I like to type, but you can scroll. And I'm going to choose Individual, and I'm going to say yes. So this is people that have that inactive box checked. That's what this criteria is pulling. I'm going to add that selection, and then I'm going to say and, but now I want to tell it that I want people who passed away. So now I'm going to go to Inactive Reason, and I'm just going to choose death. You could choose all of them if you wanted to include everybody, but I just want people that passed away. Add to selection. I'm going to hit and one more time, and now I'm going to focus in on the date that they passed. So I'm going to type in inactive again, but I'm going to choose date this time, and I'm going to choose between, and then I'm going to type in last year. Okay. You can also use the calendar if you want. I find it easier just to type in the digits. But then we're going to do add selection again. Okay. So something really important. Do you have an and or an or option? I put ands between each piece of my criteria. So what that's telling the software is that for someone to be on this report, because I'm using and, they have to meet all 3 of these pieces of criteria. So they have to have their inactive box checked, and they have to have an inactive reason of death, and their inactive date has to be in 2023. Okay, if you did or, then they would only have to meet one of these 3. But because we did ands, they have to meet all of these 3. Okay. One more thing you have to do for inactive reports. Over here on the right, you have to check this inactive box. This tells the software that we do in fact want to include inactive people, because by default, inactive people are left off of reports. Okay, they're hidden, but we actually want to see them, so we need to check this box. Up here at the top, you can uncheck visitors if you don't wish to see visitors on this report. Okay, I'm going to say okay. Again, here's my criteria reiterated here for me. Sort tab, I'm going to leave that alphabetical sort, and I'm going to hit next. Step 2 is going to pop up. Looks like I just have one person, just William, who passed away in 2023. And again, I can go with that basic columnar report template to give me name, address, phone. And if I hit print, I just have William on here. Here's my count. I can print this off if I need to, or simply hit the little I button to get my count to write down for my reporting purposes. Okay. All right, so that's the death report. Let's move on. Ooh, that sounded very negative. That's the people who passed away last year report. Let's move on to gender, which is another common one we get asked about. It's very similar to the other two that we've done. You just enter your membership field, and then you select your criteria for who you need. Edit people selection. I'm going down to gender. I'm going to check female for this report. And if you need a count for female and then you need a count for male, you just run the report twice, picking the other option. Gender equals female. I can specify if I want members and or visitors included. I'm not worried about inactive. I'm going to say OK. We're going to leave that alphabetical sort here, and I'm going to hit next. Basic columnar report. Again, hit print. That'll give me all my ladies, and then up here at the top, information button, we're at 38. Okay. Pretty straightforward on that one as well. All right, let's move on to baptism and confirmations. I want to talk about that one because that is a date field specifically instead of just a checkbox field like gender was or status was. So let's close out again. I'm sorry, I keep sniffling in your guys' ear. All right, so here, edit people selection criteria. Select a membership field. Baptism and confirmation dates are going to work the same way. You're just choosing a different field, okay? So let's go down to confirmation date. And there's no checkboxes, as you can see. You actually have to specify the date range that you're interested in. So I'm going to choose between, and then I'm going to do, again, just like we did for inactive. Oops, I messed up that date, sorry, here. And then once I get my range that I'm looking for, add selection. I'm going to get rid of visitors, and I'm going to say OK. So my criteria is anyone with a confirmation date in 2023. My sort, still leaving it on alphabetical. Clicking next. And it looks like I have 2 people that were confirmed last year. I can hit print and print that report if I want to, or again, use my count or my information button to get my number. All right. Baptism date is done exactly the same. Reports, edit people selection, put baptism in here, between. And again, I'm just typing in the digits, no dashes or slashes here. If I was typing correctly, there we go. All of last year, add to selection, get rid of visitors, say OK, hit next. So you have 1 baptism last year, and then you can print the report and move forward from there, okay? So again, the best reports to get out of the database are going to be when the best data is put in. So if you're putting in really good dates, really good data, clear information, you're going to get really good, accurate reports back out, okay? Now, if you run a report and you're like, Eric had a twin. I know Eric's twin sister should be on this report because they were baptized at the same time. And if that's the case, if you're missing someone from this report, then there's something about that person that's not meeting the criteria. So if we go back and look at our criteria, we know that our criteria's baptism date is in 2023, and you have to have a member category. So if you're missing someone, it's because they either don't have a member category, so maybe they were accidentally left as a visitor, and that's why they were omitted, or their date, their baptism date is incorrect, or it's not filled out in its entirety. Okay, so a date has to have all 8 digits for it to be able to pull someone on the report. So if you're missing someone, there's something about the criteria that is omitted on their record that needs to be updated. All right. One last report I want to talk about. This one we get a lot. So again, this is people who have attended and given within last year. They have to have done both. That's why we have that "and" in there. We're going to go next to the number 1, and we're going to put in our attendance criteria. So up at the top where it says select a membership field, we're going down. Attendance is always going to be first in your list. Select that. Check our worship services. This sample data has 3 different worship services, so I'm checking all 3. You might have just one or you might have several, but check all of them. Date range, this is where we need to go back to last year. And then times attended. I want people that have attended at least once. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 999. Now, if you wanted people who haven't attended at all, you could do 0 to 0. Again, you can really customize this report to get what you need. 999 is just an arbitrary number. You could do 53 or 52 if you wanted to. But if you have Wednesday night services or maybe you have some extra services throughout the year, cutting it off right at 52 or 53 might not be your best option. So years ago, I started doing 999 and I've just kept doing it that way. So I'm going to add that criteria. Attended any event, attended date, last year. And I'm going to leave visitors checked for this. So I'm going to say okay. So here is my membership criteria that I've put in. Okay. Now, if you own the donations module, down here at number 3, this is where we are going to put in our giving and pledging criteria. So I'm going to click right here. And I'm going to choose only those who gave. So this is anyone who gave a penny or more. You could also do only those who gave with giving from. So if you only want people who gave $200 or more, you could do that. Or you could do a range. It's up to you. Lots of options here in the screen to customize. But I'm going to go back to only those who gave. Over here to the right, I need to change my date range again because this is specific to my giving criteria. Pop that in for last year and only those who gave regardless of pledging. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so right now we're looking at people who attended at least once and people who gave at least $1 last year. I'm going to hit next. And on step 2, it's going to give me my list. So this is everybody that attended or gave. I'm going to stick with my basic columnar report, and I'm going to hit print. All right. And there is your report. I'll print it out for you. Okay. All right. That is everything that I wanted to go over with you guys today.